One of us is next. Chapter 15. Maeve, Thursday, March 5th. I don't see what the problem is, Addie says, popping a candy-covered almond into her mouth. We're both on the couch in Ashton's apartment, and Phoebe is sitting cross-legged on the floor in front of the coffee table. The three of us are putting candy into little netted bags, tying them with blue ribbon, lining them up in rows on the table. The flavors for Ashton and Eli's wedding, which all of a sudden is less than a month away. I pick up a ribbon and position it around a filled bag. Everything, I say. Addie takes her time chewing and swallowing. Everything? She repeats. Because you make out with a hot guy who cooks you dinner. She shakes her head and reaches for another almond. She's eaten almost as many as she's bundled. You have some serious first world problems, girl. She doesn't know half of what my problems are, but that's not her fault. I'm the one who's been keeping secrets. I practically mauled him, I correct, and then I ran out on him. Every time I think about last night, I cringe. Louis probably does too. I avoided Cafe Congo today, but I secretly hoped he could touch. He didn't. Just talk to him, Addie says. Phoebe heaves a dramatic sigh. Thank you. I keep trying to tell her that. I don't answer, and Addie taps me lightly on the arm. It's not a weakness to let somebody know you like them, she says. I do know. I've been telling myself that for weeks, trying to change, but I still can't bring myself to do it. Then why do I feel like it? I ask, almost to myself. Addie laughs, because rejection sucks. I'm not saying Louis is going to reject you. She has hastily on my neck when my head snaps up. He's super hot, Phoebe murmurs, her brow knit in concentration as she ties a careful bow. I mean, in general, Addie continues, we're all afraid of putting ourselves out there and not getting anything in return. And the thing is, though, nobody looks back on their life thinking, damn, I should have been less honest with people I care about. Before I can answer, I hear sound of a key turning in a lock, followed by a squeal of hinges and a click of heels. Ashton pokes her head around the small vestibule that leads into the apartment's open concept living dining area. Lower down those bags and stacks of mail. Hi, she calls. She crosses the room and drops the envelopes onto the edge of the coffee table, beaming when she catches sight of the wedding favors. Oh, thank you so much for doing this. They look amazing. I got pad thai from Sweet Basil. Did you guys eat or you want some? We ate, Addie says. She ties another bow, sets the knitted candy down, and starts thumbing through the mail. All right, Ashton says, returning to the kitchen area. She sets her bags on the counter, then comes back and perches on the arm of the sofa. Addie, are you around on Saturday night? Eli's cousin Daniel's coming in town, and I was thinking we could all go to dinner. Addie looks up at her blankly. Ashton adds, remember I told you about him? He's going to be a groomsman at the wedding and transfers to UCSD next fall. He's studying molecular biology. Ashton nudges Addie's foot with hers and smiles. He saw that picture of you and me at Mom's last week on Eli's Instagram, and now he really wants to meet you. Addie wrinkles her nose. Molecular biology? I don't know. I might be busy. I think you would like him. He's very nice and funny. Ashton swipes her phone a few times before holding it out to Addie. This is Daniel. Phoebe rises and peers at Ashton's phone, slightly closer to Addie so I can see it too, and I can't help admiring. Ooh, that comes out when I catch sight of Daniel's picture. He is one seriously cute molecular biologist. He looks like he's the lost Hemsworth brother. I say. Phoebe tilts her head for a better view. Is that a filter, or is the eyes actually that blue? No filter, Ashton says. All right then. Addie nods so quickly that I'm afraid her neck must snap. Saturday it is. Ashton takes her phone back and gets to her feet, looking pleased. Great, I'll have Eli make reservations someplace fun. I'm going to change clothes and inhale my dinner, then I'll help you finish the wedding favors. She disappears into her bedroom and Phoebe settles herself back on the ground, reaching for another knitted bag. Addie rips into a large, thick envelope with an aha noise. What's that? I ask. Addie tucks a strand of pink hair behind her hair. It's from the school called Colegio San Silvestre in Peru, she says. She feels some stamp of panic. No, you can't leave me too. Are you going there? She laughs. No, well, not as a student. It's an elementary school, but there's a summer program where the kids learn English and they hire counselors from other countries. I was thinking of applying. You don't have to speak Spanish because you're supposed to have all your conversations in English so the kids can practice. I've been looking at the teaching programs around here for next year. I thought it would be a good experience. Plus, I get to travel. I've never even left the country before. She flips slowly through the glossy pages of the brochure. Ashton says I can keep living with her and Eli however long I want, but at some point I have to figure out what's next, and I am not moving back in with my mom. Addie's mother is the definition of party mom. Last time I saw her right before Addie moved in with Ashton, she offered me a glass of wine while her 20-something tender date checked out my ass. She hasn't been all that involved in wedding planning, except to text Addie pictures of every potential mother of the bride dress she tries on. Sounds great, I say, peering at the brochure over Addie's shoulder. Can I see? Addie hands it to me with a smile. You should look into it too. You don't have to be a high school graduate to apply. We'd have fun. She's right. We would. I can't think of anything I like better than a summer with Addie in South Africa, actually. But I can barely plan for next week with all the crap going on in my life. Who knows what kind of shape I'll be in by the time applications are due. Still, the brochure draws me in with beautiful pictures of the school and the kids, and I'm flipping through with increased interest when Ashton comes running out of her room. She's barefoot and her blouse is untucked, as though she'd paused halfway through getting changed. I got a text from Eli, she said breathlessly, her eyes rolling over the coffee table. Where's the remote? I think I'm sitting on it, Addie says, and twists to pull it out from behind the cushion. She blinks surprised when Ashton snatches it from her hand. Jeez, Ash, what's the rush? Ashton perches beside her on the arm of the sofa and aims her remote at the television. There's been an accident, she says. The screen springs to life. Ashton clicks away from E-Network. I think they're coming on Channel 7. Yeah, here it is. A stone-faced news anchor sits behind a shiny semicircular desk, the words breaking news scrolling in all caps behind him. Reporter Liz Rosen joins us now at the scene, he says, aiming an intense stare directly into the camera. Liz, what can you tell us? Ugh, her. Addie frowns as a dark-haired woman in a blue blazer fills the screen. Liz Rosen practically stalked Addie Bronwyn Cooper and Nate last year while they were being investigated for Simon's death. Then Addie brow furrows as she leans forward, craning her neck for a better look. Is that the mom? Thank you, Tom, Liz says. We're continuing to bring you the latest from Bayview, where tragedy has occurred at an abandoned construction site. The story is still developing, but what we know so far is a group of local teens were in a blocked-up area where one boy fell through a roof in a partially constructed building. Another boy was also injured, although it's not yet clear how. We just got word from one of the officers here that the young man who fell through the roof has been confirmed dead. My hand flies to my mouth as I take in the familiar scene over Liz's shoulder. Oh my God, Addie says. A half-dozen splurged almonds slip through her fingers onto the floor. Phoebe gasps and scrambles through her feet. Knox, she breathes. He cut through there. I know, I say, my eyes glued to the television. He was always saying how mad his dad would be if he knew, and no wonder it really was dangerous. No, Phoebe says urgently. But he cut through there today, on his way to work right before I came here. Oh my God, Knox. My entire heart seizes as a yellow banner reading "Teen dies in construction site accident" appears at the bottom of the screen. Helpless, feeling panic rushes through me, and I fumble under piles of netting on the coffee table for my phone. It can't be him, I say. My voice shakes, and I force some more conviction into it. If it sounds true, maybe it will be true. He's fine. I'm going to call him now. Let's continue to talk. There are still a lot of unknowns. Police say they have yet to notify the next of kin, so they have not released the name of the deceased. It is also not clear what type of injuries the second teen has sustained. We understand that they are not life-threatening, and that the young man has been at the hospital has been transferred to Bayview Memorial Hospital for treatment. My call to Knox goes straight to voicemail. And just like that, I start sobbing uncontrollably. He's not answering. I manage to choke out as Addie puts an arm around my shoulder and pulls me close. Let me call Eli, Ashton says. Hang on, I left my phone in my room. My head is buried in Addie's shoulder as the desk anchor's voice turns deep and mouthful. Of course, the town of Bayview is no stranger to tragedy, Liz. Turn it off, Addie says tightly. I can't find... Phoebe sounds like she's in tears too. I think Ashton took the remote with her. That's absolutely true, Tom, Liz Rosen says. The town is still recovering from the shocking death of Bayview High student Simon Kelleher 18 months ago, which made national headlines. It remains to be seen how the story develops, but we'll continue to monitor and provide updates as they happen. I clutch at his arm like a life preserver, my stomach twisted with fear and sick regrets. If anything happened to Knox, I never got a chance to make up with him. He's okay. Knox is okay. Ashton's voice fills me with such instant relief I can finally look up. But he's the one in the hospital. Eli doesn't know what happened yet. I'll take you there right now. Addie keeps her arm around me as we stand. I feel unsteady as a newborn fawn. None of my limbs are working properly as I lurch towards the door. Does Eli know who died? I managed to get out. Ashton nods, her face pretty somber. Yeah, it was a boy named Brandon Weber. Did you know her? Did you know him? There's a loud thud from near the door. Phoebe, who'd been gathering all our backpacks and bags from where we left them, goes rigid with shock and they fall from her hands. 2 hours later, we finally get to see Knox. Only families were allowed to visit at first. His parents and sister had to go in shifts. Information had been coming in spurts. and we're not sure how much of it is true, but only a few things are starting to repeat consistently, both on the news and in text flying across your phone. 1. Brandon died trying to make a shortcut through the construction site. 2. Sean, Jules, and Monica were all with him at the time. 3. Knox has a concussion, but is otherwise fine. 4. Sean Murdoch saved Knox's life by knocking him into the ground when he tried to rush after Brandon. Sean Murdoch. Phoebe keeps repeating the name like she's never heard it before. She's sitting with her knees drawn up to her chest and her arms wrapped tightly around her legs. Her eyes are gazed, her cheeks pale. She looks almost catatonic. I don't think the news about Brandon has sunk in yet. It hasn't for me either. You're telling me Sean Murdoch saved Knox's life? She says it like you'd say. You're telling me dogs can now talk and drive cars? I didn't close her brow. It sounds familiar, but I don't remember him. I almost finished with a total asshole, but I stopped myself in the nick of time. Whatever else happened, Sean lost his best friend today, and it might have saved Knox's life. Although I'm having a hard time. I'm having as hard a time as Phoebe is wrapping my brain around that one. He was Brandon's friend. He and Knox are not close. Knox's sister, Kristen, emerges from the hospital corridor, followed by two of his other sisters. Kristen's eyes search the waiting area until they land on me. Maeve, we're going to meet up with my parents in the cafeteria for a while. Knox is getting tired, but he's still okay to see people. Do you and your friends want to say hello? She smiles so kindly on my positive she has no clue about the texting game or what's been going on between me and Knox over the past couple of days. He's right around the corner in room 307. I jump my feet, pulling Phoebe and Eddie with me. Yes, please, how is he? He'll be fine, Kristen says reassuringly. They're keeping him overnight for observation, but everything looks good. Then her resolutely cheerful experience slips a little. Well, almost everything. Prepare yourself. Poor kid's face is a little rough. She squeezed my arm as we passed by her. Hospitals make me anxious. I need to take a second to steel myself at the door to Knox's room. The section of Bayview Memorial doesn't look anything like the cancer ward, which is a lot more modern and high-tech, but the antiseptic smell and harsh fluorescent lighting are the same. I absorb the details of the room, the outdated pastel paint job, the framed print of a sad-looking vase full of sunflowers, the ceiling mounted on the television in one corner, the curtains separating an empty bed from Knox's. Before my eyes settle on him, then I gasp. I know, Knox said through puffy lips. I've looked better. He's in regular clothes with only a small bandage on one side of his head, but his face is almost unrecognizable. One eye is blackened and half closed. His nose is red and swollen, and the entire rest of his face is a giant bruise. I drop into the chair beside his bed and try to grab hold of his hand, but he tucks beneath the threadbare blanket before I can. I can't tell if it's a coincidental thing or perfect avoidance. And then I remind myself it doesn't matter. At least he's okay. What happened? I ask at the same time Phoebe says, Sean did this? She drags her chair from the corner of the room and drops it beside me. Not so many questions at once, Addie says. When I had a concussion, that kind of thing gave me an instant headache. She's still standing, her eyes on the television screen in the corner. Hang on, they're about to interview Sean Murdoch. She leans over to me to pick up the remote on Knox's bedside table and points it toward the television and turn up the volume. Fantastic, Knox says flatly as we all look up. Liz Rosen from Channel 7 is holding a microphone out to Sean, who's standing with his hands clapped like he's about to pray. They're in front of someone's house, the twilight sky, a deep blue behind them. The words, live update, local teen recalls fatal accident, flash along the bottom of the screen, as it says. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us, Sean, after such a traumatic day. Can you tell us in your own words what happened? Sean towers over Liz. He hunches his shoulders like he's trying to make himself look smaller and says, it's all kind of a blur, but I'll try. A bunch of us were at the mall and then we wanted to go downtown. We were trying to save a little time, and God, that sounds so stupid now, doesn't it? Like we should have just walked the regular way. But we'd cut through the site before. Lots of kids do it. We didn't think anything of it. Anyway, Bran was joking around like he always does, and he jumped in. Sean ducks his head and pulls out a hand to his temple, obscuring his face. All of a sudden, he wasn't there. Phoebe makes a strangled-like little noise behind me, and I reach for a hand. Unlike Knox, she lets me take it. Brandon is dead. Brandon Weber is dead. Brandon Weber is dead. I can repeat the words a dozen times in my head in a dozen different ways, and it still doesn't seem real. It must have been a terrible shock, Liz says. Sean nods, his head still down. I can't tell if he's crying or not. It was, he says. Did you understand immediately what had happened? We couldn't really see into the under roof, but we knew it was bad when he fell through. And what happened with the second boy, the one who was injured? That kid, he was in shock, I think. He ran straight for the edge after Brandon, and all I could think was that he was gonna fall through too. I panicked, and did the only thing I could think of to stop him in his track. Sean finally looks up, his mouth twisted in a regretful grimace. I punched him. I think I ended up hurting him kind of bad, and I'm sorry about that, but at least he stopped, you know? At least he's safe. Bullshit. Knox says quietly. We all turn towards him. Is that not what happened? I ask. Knox touches the bandage on his temple and winces. I don't actually remember, he says haltingly. Everything's a blur from the time I left Phoebe until I woke up with somebody shining a light in my face. But I can't imagine myself chasing after Brandon when he just fell through a roof. I mean, I've been around construction sites my whole life, you know? It's not the kind of thing I'd ever do. Maybe you weren't thinking straight, Addie says. I wouldn't be. Knox still looks skeptical. Maybe. Maybe Sean's lying. Addie blinks. Why would he do that? Knox shakes his head, his face tensing as though it hurts. I have no idea.